in the San Miguels. Episode 16, Issues with Buying a Car in the Azores. So buying a car in the Azores is nowhere as easy as buying a car in the US. You know, I've bought lots of cars in the US, it's not a big deal. But in Portugal, in a study, it was discovered that it is the fourth most expensive country in the world to buy a car. Only places that it would be more expensive than Portugal would be Mexico, Estonia, and Latvia. While America is the second cheapest country in the world to buy a car. So going from a place where it's easy and cheap to buy a car to one where it's more expensive is a big sticker shock for me. If you think that buying a car is horrible in Portugal, the Azores is even worse because you can't just drive the car onto an island, you have to ship it. So it costs at least 500 euros more, but in reality, not that many people are doing it. So there's always a shortage of cars, partly because, there's a surplus of cars when it's the slow season, and there's a shortage of cars when the tourist season is high because there's a lot more people that need to rent cars. So because it's not easy to get cars over, the cars are much more expensive. So the first place I looked for cars, both in the US and here, was Facebook Marketplace. See if I could just buy a car from a local. But one of the issues is that, they have no descriptions. They have sometimes a picture and sometimes a price of €1, that's like a switch and bait kind of price. And they don't ever give how many miles or condition or even year. They put a little picture, a price, and maybe a phone number, and that's it. When you try to email them through Facebook, they never answer. I wasn't able to connect with any of them, and I didn't know what the process of, how you go about buying a car, how do you switch the title, what about insurance, and, it's sort of daunting. So I think that, the first time I buy a car, I will just buy it from a dealer. So I went, I could search, and there's a number of car dealerships, and I went around, and, there are a lot of really old cars that are, like a 15-year-old car, that might be only $1,000 or $2,000 or euros less than what I could have bought that same new one in the US 15 years ago. So the depreciation wasn't hardly anything, so you're buying old cars at new car prices almost. Or you could buy new cars for way overpriced. So the consideration of should I buy new or should I buy used? Well, that being in a new country where the car drivers, they drive crazy, like Italians speeding all over the place. And the roads are super narrow and there's no sidewalks, and driving was a whole different experience. I thought that no, I don't want to buy a new car because it'll get dinged or an accident, and it's better that my first car be used, so not that expensive. So if it gets in an accident, it's not that big a deal. So I said, yeah, I'm gonna get a used one. And first I budgeted, oh, how about like $5,000? But you couldn't find anything that was less than 15 years old. Or 20 years old, which means that car is really on its last leg of life, especially if it's not been taken care of. The other thing I found was that there are very few automatics in the country, that they all prefer manuals. So automatics are hard to come by and they come at a premium. And then there's the whole issue of gas versus diesel. In America, it's like 95% gas and 5% diesel, so you don't even think about diesels. But over here, it's actually like 50 or 60% are diesel, because I guess the diesels get better gas mileage, and then initially they're cheaper to operate, but they have fuel injector problems that after like 7 or 10 years, there's a great chance if you buy a used car, you're going to have to get a new injector, but all those parts are hard to come by, so you will have to wait a long time if you have to repair them, plus they'll be super expensive. So then I said, okay, I'm gonna take gas instead of diesel, so you are shrinking the market, right? And then I thought, big versus small, because people are crazy when they drive. It'd be better with a big car, but the roads are narrow. There are no parking spaces. They're parking on the sidewalk, and sometimes you have two cars going in opposite directions with only like centimeters on each side. So I thought, oh, I'm going to get a small car. Because there's mostly small cars and really big trucks around. So you hit another car, it's not that big a deal, but you get hit by one of those big trucks, well, it's not good. But I decided I'd get a small car because I have to park all the time, and parking spaces, they're mostly parallel parking. In America, you hardly parallel park, you just drive into it. But here, everything on the street is parallel parked, so you really have to become good at parking, and with a smaller car, it's much easier. So with all those set requirements, that I started looking for a car. So my friend, the politician, he recommended a local car dealer, which initially I emailed him in English, and he said no English, and stopped the conversation. And then later I translated what I wanted in Portuguese, and then I said, oh, I think I would like to try to get a Mini Cooper because my son likes Mini Coopers. And then I said, maybe, and if you can't find that, maybe a Fiat 500, and if not, a Suzuki, what is it? Their replacement of the Samurai, because it's a four-wheel drive little SUV that would be good to four-wheel drive, because there's a lot of roads are dirt roads, not very good, a lot of cobblestones. So I sent him my list, and he said, oh, well, I can get a Fiat for $10,000, that's like 15 years old. And I said, oh, well, I thought that was too much. But when I got here, I decided I would still go visit him, and I went into his lot, and he had some Toyotas that looked pretty good, but they were like $700-800, and they were 15 years old, which is like, oh, that seems, a little high for that age. So I decided I'd go look at all the other car dealers, and I came across some, I wanted a Cooper, but when I looked at the Coopers, like even I think a 2008 diesel was like $18,000. It's like, it had a lot of kilometers on it, and it's like, wow, it's just too much to, it's a premium, all these other small cars. And I found this Hyundai 10i, which I never knew about, but I researched it. It was like one of the best used cars to buy, and I found 2017, which meant it was only like 5 years old, for $10,000. And it's like, oh, that seems like a good deal. So I said, hey, I want this. Can I test drive it? And they said, oh, it's not ready to be test drive because we have to have the mechanics go through it, so you have to wait a week and come back, and then you can test drive it. So I find that the dealers, and maybe why they cost a little bit more, is because they're required to have at least 1 year warranty, and some have an 18-month warranty on the car. So that it's very anti-lemon, very consumer friendly, which is sort of nice. I heard things on the internet of trying to collect on your warranty and getting them to fix things. You sometimes have to wait a really, really long time, and because they may not have the parts, almost every repair takes a long time. So I was going to wait, but I said, oh, I should go look at my give my local car dealer a second chance. So I went there and said, okay, so what do you have in the $10,000 range? And he showed me this really cute red car that was automatic. And actually the politician said, oh, he liked that car, he just wasn't ready to buy a car. But since my lawyer friend who was here with me said he wanted an automatic and they were hard to find, I told him about it, and he ended up buying it, and he loves this little red car. And so, I said, well, there's this one dealer that I wanted to go visit, which I hadn't, and we decided to go there, and we came across, and there was this black Mini Cooper that was a convertible. And I thought, oh, it looks pretty good. And it was like, oh, what year is it? Well, it's 2010, so it's 14 years old, but, it wasn't like 16 or 17. But I was dreading that it was going to be like $20,000, and they said it's $12,500, and I go, that's not bad. I mean, I wasn't looking for a convertible, but it said let's take a test drive, and we went around, and it was good, because my friend's little red car, which I drove around, which was only a 1-liter engine, and all these hills, oh, it's like putt-putting up. And this has a 1.6, and it didn't have any problems going up any hills, and I can see why they were popular, because it's one of the few smaller cars that has a little bit of horsepower in it, and I said, oh, well, I mean, I'm here to try new things, and, I decided I'd go for it. So I bought this Mini Cooper convertible, and it's pretty a good little car. I signed a sales contract, and the next day they came and picked me up and went to the bank to transfer funds. And then they brought me to my insurance company, the one that I used to buy the home insurance with. And it was nice that auto insurance is much cheaper in Portugal because they're not a sue-happy society there. Then they sent the paperwork of the sale to, I guess, their version of the DMV in Lisbon, and that I was supposed to receive like a title card in 3 weeks. And then they also had to write a letter, so in case I got stopped by the police, it would show that I was the owner of this vehicle. And they had done the registration of the car where they test the emissions and everything, and it lasts for 2 years. And they had just done it maybe a month ago, so it was good for a long time. So they hosed down the car to show that the convertible didn't have any leaks, because I had a little concern about that. They gave me the car and I was finished. I hope you enjoyed my adventures of buying a car in the Azores. If so, click the like button and subscribe. If you have any questions about what it's like living here, send me an email.